Recording Nicola here from Ageless Rider Studios, and I know I look dark. Everything looks dark. Gonna fix that eventually, though it'll probably be in a few more videos because this is a problem I didn't really notice until I started uploading and looking at my book podcast videos. So, oops, my bad. I'll fix it later. But right now, I want to talk to you about anime, which sounds really, I was going to say dumb, but it shouldn't be dumb, because people should talk about whatever they want to talk about, right? Okay, so, I'm late into the game. I'm very late in the game. A lot of my friends growing up were big into anime. Like my very best friend, her husband, yes, she got married. I'm very happy for her. Like, go girl, go, get your man. But yeah, my best friend, her husband, a friend that has kind of drifted off, but I still think of fondly. Hi, Al. And then there was a couple of others that have. Anyway, they were all like big into anime, right? Your girl never watched anime, except Pokemon, and a few episodes that she caught of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like the original one with Adam Yugi and Yami Yugi, and anyway. I watched more Western cartoons, like Justice League Unlimited, Batman the Animated Series, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, Hanna-Barbera, things like that. I never got to watch anime. Except, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched some anime-inspired shows, like, shows that kind of seemed like they took inspiration from animes, like Avatar The Last Airbender, the original Teen Titans show. I think Danny Phantom sort of had something going on there that had an anime-esque thing. But I never watched anime. Two reasons. One, a lot of the times animes came on a different channel that my family did not possess. And by that I mean, I was a young girl raised by her grandparents who basically had the basics of basic packages for cable TV. Okay? I'm talking about the most basics. Like, I had to beg to get Boomerang so I could watch Scooby-Doo and Justice League and stuff like that. Okay, and they only did that because that's me, and they only added a few of those channels, but never the one that anime tended to come on. And then the other animes that would come on Toonami or on Adult Swim, and your girl was not allowed to watch the grown-up adult cartoons. So I got left out of a lot of those conversations, and I always felt a little left out of the references. It wasn't until I got internet that I kind of got into some Ouran High School Host Club, and well, I tried something about Baka something. It was a classroom where you had to. It was like, kids, your test scores are what class you're in or how good your classroom looks, and as you fight others and your test scores go up, you get better classrooms. I didn't get to watch all of that, but that was my little bit. And I tried to watch some of Sailor Moon, but Sailor Moon didn't quite. I don't know what it was about Sailor Moon, but I didn't vibe with it like I wanted to. I don't know if it was because I felt lost, or if it was because there was like so much, because like there were like 300 different versions or something when I was trying to figure it out, and it could have just been like errors or something. Anyway, I don't know, or abridged versions and stuff out there. Like, I don't know because one moment. Sorry about that. I let in, you can't see him, but there's a Cheeto Puff looking cat with me. His name is Tom. He belongs to my uncle. My uncle is currently in the hospital, so I now have his cat. So if you hear little random meow, it is this Cheeto Puff looking cat. me say, oh Lord. This is the Cheeto Puff. Hi, Tom. Okay. Sorry, Thomas. He's a bit fat for that. He was not amused. He has very fancy pants. He also looks like Waltito, Waltazar the FIFO Balthazar the Third. I think I got that right. It's an internet cat. If you know, you know. Anyway, well, and then in college, I tried to get into a couple. One was, I think it's called Psychopaths, which a friend recommended to me because it was like hunting serial killers, but like you have like this thing that tells you if you're going to commit crimes or whatever. I watched one season of that. I think because at the time there was only the one season, but I guess there's more now. I don't know. I tried off and on to watch Death Note, because it's like the quintessential anime, or from what I've heard, and I like the concept. I watched a few episodes. I like the concept, but I don't know. There's just I might have to try to rewatch it again, or try to watch it again. But like the first time I tried it, didn't really click. And see, I was always afraid of kind of getting into anime because a lot of them because mostly ones like One Piece, Naruto, stuff like that, they have like a bazillion episodes. How am I supposed to catch up with that? Tom wants back out. One moment. But like, but then I found out that there are some animes that are like just one little season, like 12 episodes, maybe 24. Anyway, fast forward to now. I found like a website where it was like it was just like a random thing that popped up, and I was like, yeah, what the hell. So, you talk about what kind of shows, movies you like, and it pops out some anime that might interest you. Apparently, your girl don't like to be happy. Your girl don't like the happy, silly, fun time adventure shows. She has to go for the hardcore, gut-wrenching, make you want to cry, psychological thriller, horror, whatever animes. So the first one I'm going to talk about is School Life, because it's the first one. I know it's called something else, but the way I remember it's like School Live, but it's also, I can't remember, anyway, School Live. I'm going to give you a little blurb, and then I'll talk more about it with spoilery things, because I'm going to try to do, like, chapter things, so if you haven't watched it, but you heard the blurb, and you really, really enjoyed the blurb, and you want to watch it yourself, but you don't want to be spoiled, you can, like, you know what I'm saying? No. You get what I'm saying? Good. You should get what I'm saying. So School Live, basically, for the most part, you are in the point of view of this adorable girl, Yuki. I think it's, Yuki. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil things. I'm not very good with names. Yuki, I believe is her name. She's got like pink hair, and she wears a cute little hat, and she's just so happy, and I mean, she's adorable, and it's her and her friend Miki, who is a little more serious and got short hair. It looks white, but it's blonde, I think. And then there's Riri, or she's called Riri, but her name's like, anyway, and she has like long brown hair, and she's, which apparently is a thing in most animes is. And then there's a kid. Kira-sama. Anyway, she has like a pony. She's got like the pigtails. Anyway, and she carries a shovel. Shovel-kun. And then there's a dog named Taraban. Anyway, dog. Cute puppy. 4 friends and they live at school, which seems so weird. And but it's just, the school live club, the school live club. That's what it is. Totally nothing sinister going on. Totally nothing in the background. Please don't look too close. Yeah. It's just 4 friends living at school. Yeah. Okay, I think that's enough of a blurb. There's a zombie apocalypse going on, and poor Yuki doesn't realize that there's a zombie apocalypse going on because she had a mental breakdown and now sees everything as it's supposed to be, as in she still sees normal people and she still talks to like her teachers and stuff and tries to go about her life like normal, because as far as she's concerned everything is totally fine and normal, and the other girls kind of play along because they don't want to deal with a even deeper mentally broken Yuki, which, you know, fair. Which the whole premise causes a huge question, like, how did the zombies happen? Because we see clips during the episodes, because there's only 12 episodes, 12 or 11. And in each episode we kind of see bits and pieces of life before the zombies and kind of what led to them. Basically, the day was going normal. Everything was, fine. The one with the pigtails was actually going to talk about her crush on this dude. Talk to her crush about her crush on him. Miki was at the mall with her BFF. We don't know is dead or not. The other girls were at... Riri was taking care of the garden because she's part of the horticultural club. And so she was staying late, taking care of her plants, and Yuki was late because she had to do some makeup work. And things seem all hunky-dory and fine, and then all hell breaks loose. It doesn't really show the inciting incident for the zombies, just that randomly out of nowhere people started attacking each other and eating each other and just ripping each other apart, and it was out of nowhere. So everybody's scrambling to shut down. Things are scrambling to lock down, and Riri, the one pigtails Kirisama, and Yuki, are the only ones at their main school left alive with their teacher, Magane. Anyway, the teacher's beautiful. I had a crush on the teacher, but I kind of felt weird about it because I wasn't sure if she was a teacher or a student, and then it clarified that she is a teacher, and I was over here thinking, oh Lord, good, because anime is weird like that. But she's an adult. Magane. Anyway, so those 4 are at the school, whereas Mika and her best friend Kai are stuck at the mall, and they hide out, and they're the ones who run into the dog. And those 3 are hidden at the mall, at the upper levels of the mall, because apparently these types of zombies don't do stairs well. And the other 4, counting the teacher, are at the school. Okay, now this is the weird part. The school is built like a fortress. It's a humongous school, big ass school. Has a whole on the garden self-contained garden system going on. Has a fish tank thing going on that is a filter. Has all kinds of canned goods, and it's yeah, they have to kind of maneuver around the zombies, and they cut off some of the hallways and stuff so they can make quick grabs and stuff. But the way this school is built is highly suspicious. And even the characters talk about, this girl just has everything. Oh my gosh! Like even Yuki, when she's like explaining this girl to, when she's giving the grand tour to Miki, she's like, and here we have this, and here we have like the instrument room, and we have the broadcast room, and we have this garden, and we just have everything. And it's like, yeah, you do. It's kind of weird. But anyway, they end up getting Miki because they decide to go out for supplies, and they find her, which she's been in despair because her best friend had decided to leave. She was like, you know what? I am not staying stuck in this little room. I'm gonna go live. Yeah, there's zombies. Yeah, I might die, but you know what? Can't stay in this little hole forever. Best of luck. Which broke Miki's heart, and I'm kind of certain that she's a little gay because of the way she hones in on this, and the way she keeps looking for Kai, makes me think there was something going on, or maybe I'm just projecting. I could be projecting. I'm not gonna lie, I could be projecting. But when they go to the mall, they rescue her, bring her in, and she decides to join the club. Of course, she's like, why are we entertaining Yuki's, why are we entertaining this breakdown? And it's like, well, you may think it's weird, but it gives us something to look forward to, because Yuki's way of looking at things, because she's not thinking about survival or her life, or she's not burdened with that. She thinks about fun ways that keep the girls' minds and bodies active, like having a sports event day where they take all the balls and like are throwing balls at each other across the hallway and doing running laps around each other. The beach day, they cleaned up the filter thing that the fish were in, and had like a beach day with the pool, made it like a pool and everything. Like, she's keeping them active, and she's keeping them with imagination. She's giving them hope, which Miki ends up understanding that is her role. Whereas Kiri is like the protector because she's always got shovel-kun, or her shovel. Riri's the mature, motherly over all of them. And Miki's kind of the smart one, but she's also the one that tends to keep Yuki from getting into more trouble, because, damn it, Yuki, her naivety and her non-understanding of the world around them really gets them killed a few times. But you'll notice I'm not mentioning the teacher. The teacher, you find out that the teacher gave her life, literally gave her life to defend her students. And that's what caused Yuki's breakdown, because she was handling everything else, but the moment she lost her teacher was like the moment that she was like, she tapped out of reality for a while. And I say for a while because she does eventually tap back in. At a very crucial moment, thankfully. Like, it happens in bits and pieces over the series. She'll get flashes of what's really going on. Or she'll have, like, a memory of before Magdame died. And things like that. And it, like, brings her back. But when she finally comes to reality, she realizes her friends are in danger, and she remembers something from the day before everything happened about the zombies, and that is they try to go about their day as if they're still alive. Sort of. They follow a routine. So what she does is she gets on the school intercom and she tells them, okay, school's over, bye. And all the zombies just start going home. they just start going home, which saves the day. Of course, also over the series, we discover more about the school. The school was literally built to be a fortress because of this situation. We don't go into very further much details. I have a feeling the manga probably does. But in the anime, you find out that there was some kind of biomedical testing stuff going on in this city, and there are like 5 or 6 different fortress areas, and the school was one of them. So like, oh, great. And then they decide to have like a graduation to go find one of the second closest fortress area, which is apparently a university. And yeah, they're all going, which, happy, except they're not technically all going, but I'll say that it's good thing to it's one of those things that makes you think, what would you do in a zombie apocalypse, and which of your friends would you like to be stuck with, and where would you like to be stuck, how long would you last? And then of course, and I'm not talking about like just lasting like survival, but like lasting, like having hope. There's also talks about, they also like send letters on balloons and stuff to try to see if they can get get messages out of the country, because they don't know if this is a pandemic, this zombie apocalypse thing is just in the city or in their country or like global. Which they kind of think, well, it may not be global because the American forces haven't shown up yet. Because of course the American forces would show up. But that's school life. Next is Terror and Resonance. Terror and Resonance is about 2 boys who are extremely intelligent. I call them boys because they are 17, and as someone who is almost... Okay, I'm 27, so I am almost 30. They are children to me. So, 2 teen boys who are committing what could be considered acts of terrorism in Tokyo. And of course, there's a girl named Lisa who kind of gets dragged into it by accident. Simply because she was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it sounds like a quirky little thing, except with the, terrorism bit, but it's got some heart. Okay, I'm going to wait a little bit just to... Terror and Resonance. So, now people don't just wake up and decide they're going to be terrorists, right? Or at least I would really sincerely hope that's not what happens. Most terrorists are like radicalized or something, I think. Or like something happens. For 9 and 12, and yes, that is their names, or what they call themselves, are wanting to go after Tokyo, and Japan in general, but Tokyo specifically, because of the abuse and human experimentation that they experience as children. Which is something you don't really find out until later. Like, at first they seem like these really cool new guys who show up at Lisa's school, and one of them, 12, takes a liking to her, and like helps her out with these bullies and stuff, and he tries to get her to smile, and it's sweet, but it is what it is. Well, I'm sorry, my dad's got people downstairs and I can kind of hear them because I don't have a good setup yet. One day, eventually, I may have a good setup, but we'll see. Anyway, Lisa's home life is not very good either. Like, she's bullied at school. She doesn't really have friends. And then at home, her mother is, like, wanting her. Like, all of her attention is, like, clinging to her. And it's just a weird, trying to be enmeshed in her daughter's life and being kind of thing. to the point that she gets abusive whenever Lisa tells her to back off. Which eventually does cause Lisa to run away. Of course, oddly enough, her mother doesn't really call the police, or at least none of the police on the show seem to get anything about a missing persons report. But then again, it could be because they're all busy with the whole terrorist thing going on, so who knows? Or maybe it's just different in Japan, and like when you're a certain, even though you're a teenager, as long as you're a certain age, you can be out and do whatever. I don't know. So, 9 and 12, the first thing they blow up is this government building. And yes, I say blow up because they use bombs. But it's weird because they evacuate the places that they blow up before they blow them up. Or they let some, or like they set up the fire alarms and stuff before they start blowing things up. And Lisa gets involved because at their first bombing, she saw 12 planting some, and he was like, you can either die or be an accomplice. Make your choice. And she chose to live. So, which then 9 was like, you're an idiot. And he's like, we'll see. Which, I mean, technically, Lisa does slow them down. She does get involved more and more. She does slow them down, and she does kind of cause the government to find them on occasion. Whoops. But the places they blow up ties into, 1, the story of Oedipus Rex, and 2, are very important places in government, within the government. Like, one of them was a government building, one of the places was a police station, one of them was like this apartment shrine thing, and the final one, and then there was a couple of bombs that weren't technically their fault because it was another person named 5. She goes by 5, and she is working with the government, technically speaking. She's like 17 working with the government because that's how old these kids are. Why? She also works for America. Like, she's part of the United States government because she comes with the FBI, and I'm kind of like, why is a 17-year-old working for the FBI? But you know what? I've heard stranger things. I mean, anyway, 17-year-old prodigy working for the FBI. And she wants to get 9 and 12 really bad because she knows who they are, what they're up to, and while she kind of agrees with why they want to do the things that they're doing, she also wants to take them down because she's never been able to beat 9 at anything, which really pisses her off. So she's going to take him down to beat it, which is how come she ends up blowing up things too, as a way of causing him problems so that he has to come back to fix it, because she's not afraid to hurt people, and he doesn't really want to hurt people. He wants to hurt buildings and send a message. And poor Lisa gets caught up in all of this. And so does this officer, whom I low-key have gender envy for because of the way he gets to wear, like, his suits and stuff. And it's like, I low-key hate you for that you get to wear that, because if I tried to those looks off here in Alabama, I would burn to death. Also, I'm broke. You know, things happen. But, so, like, there's a lot going on in this. But the officer and Lisa, from, like, the officer's exploring the riddles that the boys leave behind, figuring out why these places are important, trying to figure out who they are and why they're doing this, because he is a second-generation Hiroshima survivor. Like, his grandparents were part of the bomb, and he spent a lot of time with his grandparents, so he spent a lot of time in Hiroshima, and he does not like the idea that they're playing around with bombs, and he's, like, really pissed about it, so he kind of wants to take them down so he can teach them a lesson at first, and then as time progresses, and he finds out more about the boys, and he realizes why they're doing what they're doing. And Lisa figures stuff out just by inadvertently listening in to 9 and 12, and sometimes 12 just flat out tells her things, because she's the first person he's ever felt connected to besides 9, and he doesn't really consider him, and he's not sure he considers him and 9 people, which is really sad. So the places that they're blowing up are part of this, like, peace assembly thing, but it's really like a big project, or Project Athena. Basically, these top officials in Japan, specifically in Tokyo, went around to all the orphanages and tested all the children, and the ones who scored the highest on these tests got taken to this facility. And this facility is where they were tested and experimented on, and tested and experimented on, because they wanted to create a bunch of super genius, super savant kids who would become super savant adults and redo Japan. And 9 and 12 escaped because they got tired of being experimented on. So they managed to escape. 5 was going to escape with them, but something happened. They were never very clear about it. But she ended up being the only one to graduate the program. And by that I mean she's the only one that that was part of the program that still survived. Like, she's the only one. And throughout the series, you see that her survival is not going to last long because she's sick. And so is 9. Like, 9 has had migraines off and on throughout the series, and people think nothing of it because he's under a lot of stress. He's building bombs, he's making threats, he's dealing with Lisa and 12's shenanigans. But then, there's 5. 5 also has these migraines. And sometimes 5's migraines are so bad she starts having nosebleeds, profuse nosebleeds, or she starts fainting. She's sick, and she's dying. Which means 9 probably is too. And the series gets sad because when the main officer finds out, he comes to arrest 12 and 9. But he's like, I promise your story will be heard. Come on. And then the government comes and kills both boys. But the officer swears that their story will continue. But the fact is that they, like, the government wanted so bad to keep that secret that they were experimenting on children. And it was just like a wild ride. And the theme music is so beautiful. I have not heard prettier theme music before. Just, mwah. I'm only halfway through the 4 that I've watched, and the last 2 are the ones that I'm going to have the most to talk about. Anohana, the flower we saw that day. Childhood friends get back together after they lose one of their own. Yeah, that sounds very endearing, right? Right. I'm gonna give it a few minutes. Anohana. So the story starts in summer. I don't know if Japan's summer months are the same as ours, or if they're backwards or what, but it starts in summer. And we meet Jintan. I'm gonna call them by their names, like their young names, because that's how they're typically referred to in the series anyway. So there's Jintan, who is the main protagonist, and he is a down on your luck high schooler. By down on your luck, I mean he's a slacker, and not even just a slacker, he literally does not go to school. He refuses to go to school, he refuses to see anybody, he's like holed himself up in his home. And his dad is concerned, but he's one of those parents that's like, I'm going to try to let a child figure the shit out on their own, because if I try to force it, it's not gonna, do any good. And also his father has an obsession with everything being kawaii or cute. So, I don't know. So that's Jintan. He likes video games, he likes to eat, he likes to sleep. He wants to be over. He's just not really living his life. He doesn't really care about life anymore. Hasn't for like the last 5 years. Well, while he's playing video games, out of the blue, Menma shows up. And she is lively, and she is a girl his age, and she is lively, and she's also stubborn and trying to tell him what he needs to do and this, and he is trying so hard to ignore her or pretend she doesn't exist. Why? Minna's dead and has been for a while. So he's thinking he's hallucinating. But she's like, Genton, you can't ignore me. Okay, and he's like, okay, fine. What the hell do you want? What do I gotta do to get rid of you? She goes, I want my wish granted. Great, what's your wish? I don't know. Fuck. Sounds like, funny, haha. And then I get, but it's not funny, haha, because she knows that for her wish to be granted, she needs everyone to be involved. And by everyone, she means their friend group. Their friend group who has not been a friend group for a while. Everybody's drifted apart. Anaru she was always sort of the social chameleon in that she would be whoever her friends needed her to be, and she would pretend to be like them or whatever. Even though deep down she's a kind of a more nerdy-ish girl. But anyway, she's trying to fit in with a more popular kind of crowd, and yeah, that kind of crowd. And she works at the GameStop still, or like the Japanese version of GameStop and everything, but she's still trying to be really cool, and she thinks that Jintan's a loser and everything, which is kind of funny because she has a major crush on him. But whatever. There's Surko, who is this young woman she goes to like the best high school, for young geniuses, like a college prep high school, trying to be top of her class, serious, motivated, and she does not associate with people who are beneath her like that. And there's Yakitsa, who is very much his own man. He wants people to leave. He's the good boy. He runs, and he's really good in school. He's got all the girls fawning over him, and he's just everything you're not. And then there's Popo, who apparently has been traveling off and on for like the last 5 years, which I have no idea. The anime kind of surprises me because we see Anaru's mom, and we see Benma's parents, and we hear about Jintan's parents, but we never know anything about Yakutsa, Popos, or Tsuruko's parents at all. We don't hear a thing about them. We probably do in the manga, but we don't in the anime. And it's like, especially in Popo's case, like, dude lives out in the woods. Are things just different in Japan? And he's been traveling, like, solo out of the country and stuff, like. Anyway. So Jintan first goes to Popo when he finds out Popo's back in the city. Popo's been living at their club's secret base, because they used to be this thing called the Super Peace Busters, which was like little bitty kid superheroes who would like try to save everybody's peace every summer, and just not just every summer, but like, we see bits and pieces of them as kids, and they were adorable, just little kids having fun, going off having adventures, though again, as an American, as a United States American person, seeing a bunch of kids running off in the middle of a city or off in the woods that you have to cut through the city to get to kind of makes me worried. But you know, it's a different time, different place. It's fine. Besides, not my children, not my playground. Not my playground, not my children. Whatever. So, Popo's still living, or has made a home at the secret base, and he's telling Jintan about all these places he's been, and he's like really excited to catch back up with Jintan. And then Jintan's like, I need help. You need help with what, buddy? Anything you need. I need to grant Minma a wish. Minma's dead. Yeah, I thought so too. Which Popo believes in, sort of. Well, Popo does believe him. And I was like, we gotta get the crew together. And then they like start talking to the others. And like Anaru kind of believes, or she allows herself to, because one of the first things they think is that Minma wants the specific Nokamon, which is like Pokemon, you get it. And so like she likes that game, so she and Jintan start playing it again, and she starts remembering when she has feelings for him, and it's really sweet. And the two of them and Popo are like playing the game, trying to get this rare Pokemon or rare Nokamon that Minma's always wanted, thinking that would be it. Yakuza and Tsurko are like, really, Minma, the dead girl, she's alive again? Right, you're all crazy. Except Yakuza, Yakyatsu, he was in love with Minma when they were kids, and he kind of has like a little breakdown, and Sakura wants to help him, so they all decide to show up for like the barbecue thing that they all plan to do to try to figure out more about what Minma wants, and more things are revealed, like what happened the day Minma died. Like we know she drowned, and we know that there was a very mean-spirited game that happened. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard the premise of this, I was thinking, oh, these kids are a bunch of, kind of did a little jerky thing, and they pulled a mean prank on their friend Minma, and it caused her to, like, die. Like, they either really scared her so bad that, or really embarrassed her so bad that she, like, died. You know, kind of like an Until Dawn situation. But no, that was not the case. No. Or I thought it was gonna be like a Bridge Terabithia thing where Minma wanted to come play with all of them, and they were all too busy, so she decided to go play at this place by herself and ended up dying or drowning. But again, no, not that either. Mm-mm. So when they were kids, they were all hanging out, and then Anaru, who had this crush on Jintan, was like, Jintan, do you love Minma? Just like out of the blue, and Jintan was like, Jintan, who does love Minma, but didn't want the others to really know about it, was like, no. And then he called Minma an ugly girl, and he felt really bad, because that's not what he meant. And Minma's like, and she doesn't cry, she doesn't break down, she just is like, oh, okay, yeah, ugly girl here, yeah. And so Jintan runs off, and when he runs off, she runs off after him. And then nothing. You know, that's when we see that little, which we then learn more through these flashbacks that, like, Anaru was put up to asking by Yakuatsu because he wanted to know if Minma really liked Jintan. And then we also find out that when she first ran off, Yakuatsu went up to Minma and was like, forget Jintan. Look, I got this for you. It's like a little hair clip, and he's like, I love you. And she's like, that's nice. I gotta go find Jintan. Which really upsets him. And you find out that Sukuro talked to Menma a little bit before they all got together, and she's like, "Are you not angry that they invited Jintan? Because I thought this wasn't supposed to be a thing with Jintan. I thought this was supposed to be just the rest of us. I thought that was like a surprise thing for Jintan." She's like, "No, it's okay that Jintan's there." Which Suguru has her reasons for not wanting this to go through. And then of course Popo saw everything and he couldn't get to Menma. The reason I'm telling you all this instead of going through it bit by bit is because each of these characters held that day close in their hearts, even though they tried to push it away, because they all blamed themselves for Menma's death, which they all thought the others would blame them, and that's why they kind of like separated. But in reality, they were only blaming themselves. Each one was blaming themselves. Anaru hated that she loved Jintan so much that she wanted to push Menma away. Yakiatsu hated that he loves Menma so much that he wanted to press her into her feelings. Popo hated that he couldn't do anything because he was so scared when he heard Menma. And Jintan was upset because he never got to, not only did he not get to apologize to Menma for what he said, but he said it in the first place. And that she ran after him. And Tsuruko felt bad because she didn't want anything to go down because she's been in love with Yakiatsu, and she could not handle hearing him talk about Menma like that. And there's just so much grief and agony in this show. Like, you find out Yakiatsu cross-dresses as Menma to feel closer to her. We find out that Anaru tries fitting in with all these different people because she doesn't know who she really is, because every time she's tried to be more herself, it looked like Jintan did not care for her. Popo held on to Menma's death and thought that and the reason he kept moving from place to place to place was because he was afraid that she'd find him and curse him and stuff. And he thought maybe if he kept traveling and doing good things and good deeds for others, then maybe it would make up for everything. And it's just like, and of course Jintan, he completely shut off from everybody. Because not only did Menma die, but his mom died too, because his mom had been sick. It doesn't really say what she had, but I'm pretty sure it's a form of cancer, because that's usually what it is when they don't talk about what killed them. But it was just, it's a heartbreaking story, and Menma, the whole show, Jintan's the only one who can really see her and hear her. And she wants so badly for her friends to hear her, to see her, to know she loves them. And the whole series, every time she pushes, there's some pushback. Some of them don't believe, or they're angry that Jintan keeps bringing it up, that Popo keeps bringing it up, because Popo's die hard into it. And she's frustrated because she doesn't know what her wish is, but the more they all spend together, the more time they all spend together, the more they remember why they were friends, and the happier Menma ends up becoming. Which is what makes it all the harder when they have to say goodbye again. Especially when they find out that she can talk to them through her diary. But they do that. And they find out, they think her wish is something about fireworks. Because before she died, they were talking about sending fireworks and a letter to God, because they were wanting to help save Jintan's mom. Now that didn't end up being it, but it was beautiful all the same. They tried so hard. And then Menma finally remembers. Her final wish was to make Jintan feel his feelings and cry. Actually cry. Because his mom's dying wish, because she was afraid that her boy had turned himself to stone and had closed off himself from his emotions, and she's like, that's not good for a child. Children should feel their feelings. And Emma was like, I will make Jintan cry. And she does. A lot. She makes everybody cry. A lot. And then there's like a movie that's like a whole year later, and they like send letters to Menma through Bonfire. And it's kind of like a recap thing, but it also has some new scenes or some more in-depth things, and it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And I love the animation style. And now the last one, the one that's probably going to have me chatterboxing for a minute. Puella, Madoka, Magica. Yeah, I think that's all of it. Or Puella, Madoka, Magica Girls. Anyway, that one with the evil little Satan looking thing. That's adorable. I jest. Basically, don't you want to be a magical girl with a cute little sidekick and fight evil witches? Of course you do. This show's for you. And it's so pretty and cute. Don't look too close, because if you do, you'll be sorry. This show ruined me. Like, this show, like, the only thing I knew about it, because I kept, ever since I really knew I wanted to kind of watch this one, I kind of kept away from spoilers and stuff. The only thing I really knew was that, the little cute thing, Cube, was not technically to be trusted, because as cute as he is Satan. Except he is not Satan. And then I will go to I'm not necessarily defending him or saying he's right or anything, but I am going to be an apologist. No, I will not. I will be flamed. I'm fine with that. But I will be an apologist for Cube. I'll get to that. So. It starts off with cute little Madoka, which, again, why is it that we only get to see this is another show, before I get really far, where we don't really see parents much, except for Madoka's, which kind of makes me worry, because, like, these other kids are also going through the things and doing the things that Madoka's doing, and worse, actually. Why are we're not seeing their parents be concerned parents, or do they just not care? And also, especially in the case of Homura, where are her parents at all? Like, she just got out of the hospital, technically. So, like, where? Mamie's too, for that matter. Or is it Mommy? Mamie? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Anyway. And I didn't really, the setting is weird, because I know Japan is far more technologically advanced than we are. I say that despite never having really been in a big city, so maybe the other cities in the United States are more developed. But, like, from everything I've heard about Japan, far more technologically advanced than we are, and could ever hope to be. Technology capital of the world, really. But in Madoka Magica, the girls have flip phones, but they have, like, these desks that come up out of the floors, and everything is glass. Like, all the walls are glass walls, and that kind of freaks me out. Like, even the inside classrooms are, like, glass walls, and that's kind of weird to me. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Madoka's your average 14-year-old girl. 14-year-old girl. Keep that in mind. She's 14. Her friends are probably 14, maybe 13. Mamie's probably 15, because she's the eldest. And she has this really weird dream where she sees, like, the end of the world. And this little cute creature that's not quite a cat, but sort of a cat, but kind of a ferret-looking thing, but with bunny ears, sort of, pops up and is like, you want to help her by becoming a magical girl? You can. And she's like, okay, how? And he's like, he doesn't get to tell her because she wakes up and she's like, oh, that was a weird dream. You know, normal stuff. Then she goes to school with her best friends, Sayaka, and he told me. He told me. I'm really sorry. I'm going to be butchering these names. I'm always going to butcher these names. I'm doing my best. I'm sorry. And they're like laughing and talking about boys and crushes and becoming popular, but also, normal teen stuff. And then they go to school and their teacher's like, oh, by the way, here's our new transfer student. She's been in the hospital for a while, but whatever. She's cool now. Her name is Hamura Akame. And they're like, oh, cool. And everybody's thinking, oh, she's so pretty and she's so cool and she's so mysterious. Because, we don't really ever get transfer students. And Madoka's like, I have seen that bitch before. She was in my dreams. When she talks about that to Sayaka, and he'll be like, this is weird. I saw her. She's in my dreams. What the hell? I've seen her before. And they're like, psh, girl, you probably saw her on the street or something, and were so taken by her beauty that it seared itself into your subconscious. Anyway, Hamura goes to Madoka and is like, hey, I need to go to the nurse. I know you're the nurse's aide. Will you take me? And she's like, how'd you know I was the nurse's aide? She goes, the teacher told me. She goes, oh, cool. And then on the way to the nurse, she goes, do you like your life and do you find everything in your life precious, including your friends and family? Weird question, but yes. And then Hora's like, good. Don't make any contracts or sign any deals with anything, because if you enjoy your life the way it is, then you should not change it whatsoever. Do not make any wishes. Goodbye. Which Madoka's like, what in the everlasting fuck was that? Because I probably would be too. I'd be like... But anyway, so she and Sayaka decide to go to the mall. And she, is talking to Sayaka, like, this girl's weird. Like, she's super weird. And Sayaka's like, yeah, that's pretty weird. Well, at the mall, Madoka hears her name being called in the vents. And she finds this room that suddenly becomes and she finds this room, like, this empty room. And then she sees Amora shooting at this cute little creature thing, and she's like, no, don't kill it. And Hamora's like, get away from that thing. It is not what you think it is. Get away from it. And she's like, but it's little and cute and you're hurting it. And then that's that time Sayaka comes in to help protect Madoka and the little cute thing, Kibe. And then the world goes all wonky and weird, and it's a labyrinth. Labyrinths are where witches live, or work, and they are very weird. They really take hold of the whole surrealist thing, which is amazing. I like it when surrealism is put into media, especially when it's used effectively, and this is pretty effective because it shows just how absolutely bizarre the whole magic thing is. And it can really play well with making things scary. Especially if you're 14 and looking like you're in the world looks like a really bad acid trip. Or what I assume an acid trip looks like. Never done anything like that, so, what do I know? But it's hard to watch, not because of the horror thing, but because my eyeballs literally hurt watching it, because it's like, I'm trying to focus, and it's kind of hurting. So, be cautious. Be cautious, especially if you're epileptic, I guess, because even though there's not a lot of flashing lights, the way the world looks is wonky. Anyway. And they're like, oh no, what the hell? What's all this? And then all these little creatures are like laughing at them and dancing, and Hamura's like, oh shit. And so she starts shooting at them. And then out of nowhere comes Mamie. Or Mammy. Or Mamie. Is it Mamie or Mammy? Anyway, cute little blonde girl comes in with her little outfit. She has her magic guns and she's shooting them all. And she's like, I'm a magical girl. You rescued my Cubey. Thank you. I'm gonna kill this witch and then I'll talk with you. Just 1 second. And then she defeats the witch. And then she starts explaining to the girls, here's what a magical girl does. Except poor Mammy doesn't know everything about being a magical girl, which will come back to bite her later. So, magical girls. To be a magical girl, you have to make a contract with Cubey. And he will create this cute little soul gem for you and grant you your powers and your wish. And all you have to do in exchange is fight witches. No big deal, right? Except you have to fight the witches. And you have to be careful about your soul gem. And you have to use these things called grief seeds that the witches drop to keep your soul gem clean. Or else. Also, you might want to be very careful about what your wish is. Because once you make a wish, you can't unmake it. And they're like, well, Mamie, what did you wish for? And she goes, well, and then we see a flashback that poor little Mamie was in like a car accident, like a really bad one, and so she kind of sort of wished for her to live. So she's like, that's why I make sure that everyone who can and doesn't have to rush, don't have to. So you can follow me on a few hunts and think about it. And of course the girls are like, yay, witch hunting, and it's so fun and exciting and magical and cool. And Hamura's over here like, don't trust Cubey, don't be with them, leave them alone, stop it, stop. Especially to Madoka, because she's like, Madoka, this is not the life you want, just trust me. And she's like, bitch, I just met you, why would I trust you? And of course Sayaka's like, okay, we were gonna get away from my friend. Well, they go on another witch hunt with Mamie. Things go well at first. And then they go on this one witch hunt where Madoka's like, I'm going to join Mamie. And Mamie's like all excited. She's like, I'll figure out what to wish for. And it's like, okay, you figure that out while I finish off this witch. This witch happened to be a little more powerful than Mamie. And so the girls firsthand got to see someone, well, I don't really know how it killed her, but it looked like it decapitated her. So, like, eat her face first. And so Hamura ended up finishing it off, and she was like, now do you see, this is what the fate that lies ahead for all magical girls. You are going to die. Do not make the deal with Cubey. And the girls are like traumatized, like no shit. And so of course they're like, Cubey, thanks, but no thanks. And Cubey's like, whatever. I can't make you, and it's okay. I mean, there's other people who will make the wish. And, I mean, it's not for everybody. So he goes off about his little Cubey business. And Hamura's over here thinking, saved it. Things seem to be looking up. The girls are, of course, traumatized about what happened with Mamie, especially when they find out that her body, because it was killed in a labyrinth, will not come back to the real world, or will not show up in the real world, so she'll be like considered a forever missing person. And so, like, she had no friends, no real family. She had no family, no real friends, so it's like nobody knows she's missing but them, and they're just like heartbroken. Of course, Sayaka gets a little more heartbroken because her childhood crush and / childhood best friend is in the hospital because of a... They never really talk about what kind of accident it was, but he was a violin prodigy, and he's never going to be able to play violin again. And it's really sad. And he had like a really real big depressive episode where he blew up on Sayaka. And she just felt so bad for him. And seeing him in so much pain. Meanwhile, Madoka's out for a walk trying to calm herself down when she sees her friend Hitami and a bunch of other people going toward this warehouse, and they're like, oh no, because see, they were taught that grief seeds and witches, the way they work is like, not everybody goes into the labyrinth or whatever. but they influence the real world by making people do things like commit mass suicides or create mass car crashes or train crashes or plane wrecks or, just disasters. Horrible disasters that hurt and kill a bunch of people. Because a witch is a being made of pure grief and curse, and because they're made of pure grief, they curse everything. Well, grief and despair, and they curse everything and everyone around them. Which is why you gotta get rid of the grief seed, because otherwise that spot will stay cursed and everyone who walks by it will be compelled. Hirame and a bunch of these other people are compelled, and Madoka's following them like, hey, Hirame, what's going on? What you doing? And she's over here like, we're gonna do a party, Madoka, you should come. And then at the party, it's a warehouse where everything is sealed up and they're about to basically commit mass suicide. And Madoka's like, no. And like when she tries to stop it, the people not only turn on her, but they shove her into the labyrinth where the witch is tormenting her with Mamie's death. And about this time, Sayaka makes a deal with Kyubey. She wants her childhood friend to recover his violin arm and be recovered from his illness, or be unparalyzed from the accident, I don't know which it is. And she becomes a magical girl. And just in time, too, because without her, Madoka would probably have died. And, of course, Madoka's like, Sayaka, what's wrong with you? You made the deal. And Sayaka's like, psh, it's fine. I can be a magical girl. It's fine. I got this. Besides, it's not like I made a wish for selfish reasons. And, yeah, I know it's dangerous, but what's one miracle? What's my life if I can save a bunch of people from witches? Okay. Meanwhile, there's another girl named Kyoko who shows up, and Kyubi's like, oh, this territory's already taken. And she's like, Mamie's dead. How can it be taken already? She goes, oh, there was a new magical girl. She took over. What? And she's like, oh, yeah. She just made a deal with me 10 minutes ago. And she's like, what? Which I really like Kyoko. She's funny. Or, not really funny, but I like her. She starts off kind of, you think she's bad, but she's precious, okay? And she's always seen eating, which is, you think is a running gag, but she's just constantly snacking. My bad. So, Homura is very pissed off that Sayaka made the deal. And she tells Madoka, don't you make a deal. Do not make a deal with Kyubey. And Kyoko ends up wanting to fight with Sayaka, and they do kind of fight over the territory. And Sayaka is very different and Kyoko's different from Sayaka and Mamie. They want to fight to protect others from the witches, and they even take on the familiars, which are low game, whatever, because they don't want anybody to suffer. Kyoko doesn't give a shit. She's like, I'll kill the witches, I'll take the grief seeds, I'll reap the rewards, but as long as you're only doing it, but what's the point of doing it for others when yourself is the only one that matters? I mean, which Sayaka, that pisses off Sayaka, because she's like, truth, justice, doing things right, and being protective, and protect the innocent and the weak. Meanwhile, Kyoko's like, I got power, I'll do what I want. So they fight, and it gets bad. The first time they fight is really bad. And Sayaka's like, when she finds out that she heals fast, Sayaka finds out she heals fast because her wish was a healing wish, so she has healing powers. And Kyoko's like, oh, cool, I'll just have to kill you twice as fast, which Homura ends up breaking it up. And she tells Madoka more just stay out of it. You can't save Sayaka. You cannot save Kyoko. You can't save me. Just back out the whole thing. Just back out. Well, Sayaka and Kyoko end up going at it again, or are about to start going at it again, when Madoka takes Sayaka's soul gem and tosses it, which is when we find out a little piece of information that Kyubey has been keeping from everybody. Which, Also kind of answers the whole thing about magical girls and how magical girls go from in one episode from being like, totally normal girls, and then the moment they get the powers are like able to super fight crime, even though it's like their very first time ever. Your soul gem that Kyubey takes from you and makes for you is literally your soul. You are literally selling your soul to Kyubey. And he makes your little gem because he's like, if you're bot, it's like, he's like, I don't know what the big deal is. It's just a mental disconnect between your brain and your body. Like, do you know what would happen if if you felt the pain that your body goes through all the time? Like, you would never get anything done. Like, you would die from the shock. So, yeah, we put a disconnect there, so every time you bleed or break a bone or do some feat that probably shouldn't be possible, you don't go, ow! And it's, kind of normal, one of those things that you would think, yeah, okay, I see why that would be, necessary, but also that kind of is something you should probably tell people, especially because now they're sort of kind of walking zombies, and if their soul gem is more than like 100-something meters away, they turn into lifeless little bodies. Puppets. Meat suits. So, yeah, Kyubey, you should have told people that. And people get a little upset with Kyubey about that, and he's over here like, I've told people this before, and they always react the same. I don't know why you're upset with me when I'm doing you a favor. I mean, you couldn't do your job if all you felt was pain. And I mean, he kind of has a point, but he should probably, still tell people that even when they don't like it. Kyubey apologist here. But of course things get bad for Sayaka because her crush ends up coming back to school, and it turns out that one of her friends, Hidami, also really likes him, and she is in despair because she's figured out that being a magical girl, you can't really have a normal life, including dating and boyfriends and stuff, and it's really hitting her hard. Like, really, really hard. And Madoka notices, and so does Kyoko, and Homura. And they all each try to get her to breathe, so to speak. Madoka tries to get her to cut back on her magical girl stuff. Kyoko tries to get her to forget other people and be more for herself, even revealing her own little sob story, which is really sad. Apparently, she had a family, and her dad was like this real big preacher dude, but he started believing in stuff and talking about stuff that other people didn't find okay, and so they excommunicated their family from the church. And so Kyoko's family were kicked out of their church, which was where their father worked, so they didn't have a lot of money, so they were always poor, and she would like steal food to try to keep her and her siblings able to eat. And her dad was really depressed, and so when she met Kyubey, she made a deal that people would listen to her father and she would be a magical girl. And then her father kind of sort of started a cult, and he was really happy until he found out what happened, and then he wanted to kill Kyoko and the entire family because their whole family was like now cursed by witch magic. So, yeah. That's why Kyoko's alone. But she still hangs out in her dad's old church. Yeah, okay. But she opens up to Sayaka, and Sayaka's like, yeah, I can't do that, though. I can't just be for myself, okay? This is a justice thing, okay? I'm standing up for something. Just because you don't want to stand up for something doesn't mean I have to stand up for nothing. So, bye. Which, of course, really hurts Kyoko, but she's like, she respects that Sayaka has her integrity. Sayaka and Homura and Kyoko are also like teaming up because there's something coming. I will not get the name right, so I'm just going to call it the Big Witch. the big main witch, because I cannot say the name. No matter how many times I've tried, I'm not got it correct. It's like Walpurgisnacht or something. Well, anyway, it's on its way, and it's basically a witch so powerful it doesn't need a labyrinth. It doesn't hide in a labyrinth, and it can cause misery and pain from the outside world, which means it's super duper dangerous, and it'll probably kill a bunch of people. So they've decided to team up to take it on. Anyway, and they kind of want Sayaka involved, but Sayaka's acting more and more erratically, and she's not doing. And when she fights too hard. She's not using grief seeds because she thinks that's taking advantage of the poor witches. Because even though they're horrible, terrible things, the witches, she doesn't want to profit off their misery, off their demise. And it's like, no. You need the grief seed, honey. And Homura tries to reason with her for Madoka. And like she literally says, this is for Madoka. You want to do this. You don't want to do it. And Sayaka's like, bitch, back off. And then Sayaka reaches her breaking point, in which we all learn the painful truth. When a magical girl feels with despair and grief and heartache, that soul gem of hers turns black and tainted and corrupt. And then it breaks and becomes a grief seed. And that magical girl becomes a witch. Kyoko was there when it happened, and she, like, takes the body, her and Homura. And she's like, and Kyoko is, like, determined to find a way to bring back Sayaka. Like, to get rid of the witch self and put the normal self back into Sayaka. And Homura's like, I don't think that could ever happen because it's never happened before. And she's like, but I'm taking the body because I gotta show Madoka. I gotta warn Madoka. So she goes to Madoka. She tells her about Sayaka. And what happened. And about magical girls becoming witches. And she shows up right at the right time because Kyubey almost gets Madoka to sign a contract. Or to make a contract, and she kills Kyubey. And she's like, you kill Kyubey. And she's like, don't worry about that, let me show you. And like, she shows her like the body and tells her what it is. And Madoka like freaks the fuck out. And she doesn't want to believe it. She runs off, and of course Kyubey shows back up, and because apparently he can regenerate or whatever. And he looks at Homura and he goes, well, at least now I know what kind of magic you have. Time magic. You're not from this timeline. He goes, that's curious. He's like, and she's over here like, I ought to kill you again. He goes, you can kill me as many times as you want, but I just keep coming back. And like, she pours her heart and soul out to Madoka too during this time, and it's like, she low-key is in love with Madoka. There is no. They are no just good friends. Psh. Madoka has a whole breakdown because of what happened with Sayaka. And Kyubey shows up, and she's like, I know what Homura says you are. You're some kind of incubator or whatever. And he's like, okay, look. Let me break this down for you. And honestly, the more I know, the more I learn about Kyubey, the more I see why people think he's the devil, and the more I can kind of see the whole, he gives you broken promises, or gives you this temptation. And I see it, but I also, and it's not just because of his cute face, but it's the rationale he gives. Okay. Kyubey is an alien. He flat out says he's an alien species. He's not from Earth. He's not like interdimensional either. He's just, he's from another planet. His species does not feel emotion the way we do. They do not have the attachments like we do. they are not the same kind of beings that we are. And I'm not just talking about physically, but like wired up in the brain. Kyubey and his species are incubators. And what they're trying to do is stop the heat death of the universe. Because if their universe dies, everything will die. Including not just them, but like... So they're thinking on Grant. He's one of those big picture people. Excuse me. Like... Instead of caring about one person, he cares about, like, the whole 30 bazillion. Because, I don't know how big the galaxy is and how many planets are, occupied in this universe. They're not thinking about the lives of just 1 or 2 or 6 or 12 magical girls. They don't care about that shit. That's a means to an end. They're a means to an end. The ends justify the means, kind of thing. And the way they stop the heat death of the universe is like the energy that girls give off when they become witches, from powerful magical girls to powerful witches, is what they absorb that energy and use it to like put it out in the universe to keep it from doing the heat death thing. And I kind of get it. I don't like the way that he doesn't just flat out say it to the girls, which I understand why he wouldn't just flat out say it, because, according to him, every time he does, humans react negatively. Which makes me think that there should be a way to make him understand better about humans. Like, maybe a wish be, QA, I wish you understood humans better so you would understand. But I digress. QA is not malicious. He's not a demon. He's just a little dude trying to do his job, and his job is to keep the universe going. He's like a lawful neutral. Like, he follows his rules, and he's not really good or evil. He's just trying to keep the world going, and like, that's all he really gives a shit about. And the rest of you are just giving him a hard time, and he doesn't understand things like we do. So it's like getting upset that a cat doesn't act like a dog, or that a fish can't do things like a bird can. It's different. Also, I really like Kyubey, so leave me alone. Like, leave me alone, okay? Like, yes, he's sinister and he put all this emotion, but he's not completely at fault about everything, okay? Because Homura put Madoka in the situation she's in. I'll go back and explain. Kyoko, anyway, Madoka does not want or trust Kyubey, and she tells him to get lost, and he's like, fine, but when you feel like putting your life on the line for the rest of the universe, call me. And he, like, disappears, and that's so sassy. He's a sassy little dude. I want Kyubey merch. Anyway. I am a horrible person. I acknowledge that I am a horrible person. Kyubey leaves, and Homura is like, she knows she needs to track down Sayaka. Because, again, Sayaka's a witch now. Well, Kyoko shows up to Madoka and is like, look, I think we can break Sayaka out if you call to her, because maybe you can break through to her, because you're like her bestest friend. And Madoka's like, with the power of friendship, we will save Sayaka. So they go into the labyrinth, the two of them, and they try to save Sayaka. But instead, Kyoko ends up sacrificing herself for Homura. So Homura, who ends up showing up, can run off safely with Madoka. And Madoka is just so upset. She's grieving so hard. And Homura's like, on her own, like, I have to do this by myself. I'm going to stop the big witch on my own. And Kyubey's like, shows up and he goes, you could have Madoka help. And then we get, which she's like, after all, you're the reason Madoka's so, like, necessary now. And Hamora's like, what you talking about? Like, what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about, QB? We get a whole episode based on Homura and, like, her background. So, she's a time traveler. You know, time magic. So this is not the first time she's replayed this month. So the very first time, we see, like, the very first timeline where she's the new girl and she's got little braids and glasses. She's kind of a dork, and, like, she just got done with the hospital with out of the hospital with a heart condition, and she's not 100%, but she's at school and she's trying, and she's making friends, and some of her new friends are Sayaka, Madoka, and Mamie. And they're magical girls. And they bring in Homura because Homura wants to be a magical girl. And then she starts seeing in every timeline that she's in the horrors of being a magical girl. And the truth behind being a magical girl, which is why she tries so hard to keep Madoka away from it. Especially because at the very last one, like, she tries different things. Like, she tries to be right up front and honest with Madoka about Kyubey. She tries to not tell anybody about Kyubey, or, like, just to do things discreetly. She tries all kinds of different methods. Well, in one of the last ones, she and Madoka are fighting the big witch, and it's not looking good, and they're both about to die, and Homura's okay with them both dying. But Madoka heals her up with a hidden grief scene and is like, Homura, go back. Make sure I don't become a magical girl. Stop all of this. And Homura's like, okay. So Homura goes back in time, and in the process of all this going back in time to try to save Madoka, she accidentally put Madoka at the center of several karmic threads, which is now why she's so important and why she's so high on Kyubey's radar now. Kyubey's radar now is because Homura kept going back in time and basically made her this all-important central figure. The big witch comes, and humans cannot see the magic stuff. So they're thinking, so the humans are like, okay, big major storm, everybody evacuate, hide in your shelters, blah, blah, blah. And Madoka's over here, like, worried about Homura, and she knows deep down. So she thinks long and hard about it. She tells her mom she loves her, and her mom tries to stop her, and they have, like, a little heartfelt conversation about growing up and making mistakes and knowing you're loved. And Madoka goes to Homura in a scene reminiscent of the very first scene. Homura's on the ground. She's bleeding, and it looks bad. And she looks at Madoka, and she goes, please don't tell me. And Madoka goes, I'm gonna make my wish. Because now I know what to wish for. And this little bitch, this whole series could not think of a wish, and she finally thought of one, and it was one that basically rewrote the entirety of the universe. She rewrote the entirety of the universe, basically. So she made it so that witches cannot be born of grief seeds and magical girls. And she, like, it was spectacular. Okay, like, the way it was shown. And Madoka, like, goes back all throughout time and space, just saving these girls from becoming witches. But the bad negative feelings have to go somewhere, so from what I gathered, wraiths are now the thing, and I can't tell how they're made, if they're made from witches or if they're made from the magical girls, or if they're just made from, like, the grief and the despair of the world, because the way they said magical girls die in this one is their soul gems just completely deplete and then they vanish. So I don't know. I don't know all that. I haven't watched the movies. I know the first two movies are considered like recaps, and then there's the third one that's like the new story. I don't know. I just know that wraiths are the new things instead of witches, and they're not born from magical girls. The magical girls sort of just disappear. And we get Madoka comforting Sayaka, so Sayaka could not canonically be saved, but she could still canonically go to a heaven instead of becoming a witch and like tormented for life. Madoka and Homura had this lovely moment that I swear if they had been opposite sex, they would have kissed. They would have been together. Or had that like last farewell, forget me not kiss thing going on. It's kind of upsetting though. I know that they were in that scene, they were bathed in the light of the universe. But I really would have preferred, but for me, because these are like 14 and 15-year-old girls, maybe I'm just a prude. Or maybe I'm just weird. But, I mean, they're 15-year-old girls. They should have had like some kind of better coverage going on. But again, I'm a prude. Maybe I'm a prude, maybe, or I'm uncultured. Okay. But whatever. But yeah. They had a really sweet moment that I swear there was no heterosexual explanation. I know you're out there going, they're just really good friends, okay? They were like each other's bestest best friend. That's all it was. Bitch, you and I both know that if one of them had been male, there would have been a kiss. There would have been. I mean, they kept declaring their love, basically. Anyway, and then Amora kind of goes back to a more normal life, and she's like the only one that remembers Madoka. And Madoka gave her her ribbon, so she wears her little ribbon in remembrance. Madoka's younger brother also remembers her, but her family thinks of her as like an imaginary friend he came up with. But Hamura remembers her, and she was telling all of this to Kyubey, and Kyubey's like, huh, that's a very interesting take on the world, and a very interesting dream you had, Hamura, but, not feeling it. It's interesting, and theoretically it could be possible, but, yeah, I'm gonna call fiction. And, like, the way she was talking with Kyubey and the way he was acting, I mean, he's just a little guy trying to do his job. It's not his fault that he can't form the attachments like you want him to. It was so beautiful. And of course, like, when you watch something like Madoka, you think, what would you wish for? Would you go with Kyubey? Which is part of me, like right now, 27-year-old Courtney probably would make a deal with Kyubey. Not at this very moment, because I have other responsibilities, like my grandmother. But I would probably make the deal because I'm not exactly... I have major depressive disorder and OCD, like legit OCD. Not the, I need to clean kind, which can be a form if it's excessive. Like, if you have an actual compulsion, like obsessive compulsion to clean, that is OCD, not just being a neat freak. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But I am actually OCD, and I have anxiety disorder. So, my wanting to stay alive fluctuates. I'm not doing anything. Please don't flag me. I'm good. I have medication that I take, and I talk to a therapist. I'm good. It's just something that I'm going to have to deal with, Like, it's one of those feelings or thoughts that I have to shake off. But because I have that, because I deal with that, I can think of a half a dozen things right now that I could ask Cube for, and I'd be okay with it. Now, 13, 14, 15-year-old Courtney, it would depend on when he comes. Because those years of my life I fluctuated between medicated and being unmedicated, because that's about the time that I started getting the help that I needed. Like, in that area. It would be depending on how I was feeling about myself and what was going on, because those were some very tumultuous years for me, but they also had some really great memories. So depending on when he showed up, I would have been like, yeah, okay, I'll make a wish, here's my wish. Or I would have been like, you're cute, but no, bye. Like, but I suppose that goes to you guys now, huh? Would you make the deal with Cube? Would you trust him? Would you look at his cute little face and say, of course I'll be a magical girl? Or you'd be like, back away, Satan. But yeah, I am a Cube apologist. I'm not gonna lie. I also kind of wonder what my powers would be, though. Like, I know your powers tend to be based on the wish you make. So, I would either have, like, memory distortion wishes going on, or memory distortion powers, or illusionary powers, or something to that effect. Or I would be someone who could really throw a punch. I don't know. Like I said, it would depend on which version of me Cube came to and was like, hey, wanna be a magical girl? You'll save the world, but it'll cost you your soul. But yeah. Yeah. What about y'all? Anyway. Yeah, I'm a Cube apologist, though. I mean, he's just so cute. And again, he is an alien. You cannot. He is an alien. He's from an alien planet. He is an alien species who literally does not have the brain function that we do. Okay? So, like, you cannot. It's apples and oranges, okay? Don't hold him to our standards. He's just a baby. Baby. Anyway, this has been Courtney McCullough from Ageless Rider Studios, and I'm saying bye. And I'll, my next Fun Time Ramble with whatever pops up. Maybe more anime, maybe a movie, maybe a couple of movies. Who knows at this point? I'm just screwing around because why not? Why not at this point? Why not just have some fun? Bye.